Hi, I'm Chelsea Husum, your host of the Lip Service and Lashes podcast. I'm an entrepreneur, author, speaker, and mom of two. And I'm so tired of women not feeling like they can show up as fully expressed versions of themselves. So here, we're all about that unapologetically, because honestly, we don't have time not to. Literally, because we're busy as F moms and entrepreneurs, but also figuratively, because we don't know how much time we have on this planet, and we want to make an impact now. But if we're doing this, we're making it real vibes only. So let's get inspired, laugh our asses off, quite possibly cry, and feel like you're sitting on the couch with your bestie and a glass of wine. I'm so happy you're here. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Lip Service and Lashes with Chelsea Husum. Today, I have my beautiful friend, Jess Burgio. Thank you for being here, Jess.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I know we're going to jam out.
Oh, we are. Okay, you guys. Jess, as a podcast mentor and business coach, Jess is deeply passionate about empowering women to take bold, strategic action in building a brand that authentically represents who they are and the community they're meant to serve. She is also the host of Unscripted, a top 1.5% podcast that dives into business strategy, personal growth, and her favorite topic, community. Jess's expertise in podcasting has allowed her to mentor countless women in launching their own shows, amplifying their personal brands, and increasing visibility. As a published author and dedicated mother, she's obsessed with helping women harness the power of their voice to connect with their brand, grow their business, and live a life filled with purpose and fulfillment. I love all that so much, girl. You're amazing, and I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you. It's so fun when you get to listen to your own bio back around all of the ways of which you've now figured out how to put words to what it is that you do, who you serve, and how you want to help people.
Yes, and you're like, okay, damn, you're doing some stuff, and you're doing it all, and I love it. And what I have to say, we met months ago now, but what I just love about you, and we sat at dinner chatting, is you're real. You just go there, and you're not trying to be perfect. You're just like, this is me, and you embrace it fully, and I just love that about you.
Thank you. Yeah, no fluff here.
Yeah, exactly. I was just telling her too. So while your podcast Unscripted is just fantastic, and it's doing very, very well. And I was just saying before we hit record that I was looking at it and all her episodes are explicit, and so are mine currently. And I'm like, yeah, that just speaks to my soul.
Oh, again, with the no fluff. There are passionate ways to share how, the energy behind how you feel about something. And some of us choose, facial expressions, though I have those as well. But, sometimes a little F and a little, here and there drives the message home.
It sure does. It sure does. It just makes me feel good when my kids are gone and I'm like, yep, let's drop the F-bombs. All right, girl. So I would love for you to tell everyone about your story and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, I know specifically you want to chat about how podcasting has changed my life because I kind of lead with that. Yeah. And I share that because it really has. It's really helped me connect my voice to what I now consider my personal brand. And we all have a personal brand. It's just a matter of if we're the ones writing the narrative behind that brand, right? Yep. So for 25 years, I was in the beauty industry. I still am currently involved. I still do see clients behind the chair because it is a strong passion of mine. I love that in-person connection. But for over 18 years before I moved into the different space of where I'm at now, I was behind the chair. I was a salon owner and I did one thing and I did it very, very well. So I really focused and honed in on becoming a master at my craft. And in doing that, I learned how to communicate, how to connect with people. And I realized that was my secret sauce. Though, even though I was a good hairdresser, I was a great communicator.
Yeah.
Fast forward many years later and a lot of missed opportunities with my son, I realized what had gotten me where I was at wasn't going to get me where I potentially wanted to go. And so I was introduced to one of our favorite mentors, Chris Harder, by way of his wife, Lori Harder. She and I had been friends over the years through the fitness industry, and we'd done a variety of fitness camps and things together. I'd been a volunteer at her event. So I'd watched her kind of, go from fitness professional into the personal development space, into the hosting space. And so I could see what was possible if you decided to make changes and how much bigger of an impact you could create on a scalable level versus the way I was doing it, which was in person, right? And one-to-one.
Yes.
And so I I borrowed some of her confidence and belief of like what was possible for someone from a small town who didn't have a lot of, traditional education, that I could start to facilitate things on a bigger level. So between the two of them, they really inspired and motivated me, especially when I saw Chris Harder put out his high level mastermind. And at the time, you had to be making $500,000 in your business, or projected to, in order to get into that room. And at the current time, I wasn't doing those numbers, but knowing that a room like that existed with people I wanted to be around really got me curious. And I realized that where I was at wasn't going to ever get me in a room like that. And I wanted to know what those people were talking about. I started to like think outside of the box that I was in, and the box that I really put myself in. And so I realized that if I started to make changes, I might create different opportunities for me to be home more with my son, who was getting older at the time. I think he was about 7. And I was just missing a lot of stuff because I was having to be in person at my salon.
Yeah.
And so I don't get to share this part of the story a lot, but I know you're a mom and you have a lot of listeners that are too. But he was really the motivating factor for me to try to do things a little bit differently so that I could be more available. And so with that, I launched a podcast with the help of them. I guess I skipped the part where Chris actually created a mastermind that was a little bit more affordable for what he called early stage and some of us accidental entrepreneurs. It was called Fast Foundations. And so I was one of the very first people to enroll in that mastermind, and that changed the trajectory of my life. Those 6 months really helped open my eyes to how other people ran their business and how other people were able to scale and grow their personal brands, all of the things that come along with being the person who wears all the hats as an entrepreneur. Because I was truly an entrepreneur before in my hair career, but not to the scale that we need to be now with the use of social media and the online platforms. So during that 6-month mastermind, I decided that I wanted to launch a course helping hairdressers in the mindset game of becoming a 6-figure stylist, because that was a number that was like arbitrarily thrown around as successful in my industry back in the day, that 6-figure mark, that $100,000. And so I launched a course, and crickets. It was then that I realized that I needed visibility and I needed people to know I existed, because I had built my whole brick and mortar business on referrals. And so there was no social proof that I was successful. There was no social proof that I had any sort of, street cred.
Yeah.
None of that existed. And so when I had a launch, I guess you would say, quote unquote, fail, it was because nobody knew me for that thing that I was now offering. So I had to go back to the drawing board, and I figured, what is the thing you love to do most? Talk and connect with people. And I'd watched both Lori and Chris start their podcast and so many other people, and they really encouraged me to start my own show. And so I did just that. And at first I was just speaking to the beauty industry, because during that time we had so conveniently been closed for COVID. So I had a beautiful salon and it was closed, and I was out of the 2 excuses, which are usually time and money, the reasons why we don't do the things we say we're going to do. And so I launched the podcast, and I really started asking questions to my local community hairdressers and salon owners around, what they were doing during that time, but more so how they became successful and what maybe cheat codes or secrets they had. I was just so curious. I call myself nosy, and I realized that podcasting was something I had been getting myself ready for 18, 19, 20 years by asking each individual client different questions. So anyways, I didn't even know I had a skill set that was going to help me create visibility for myself. Now, don't get it twisted. I was terrible in the beginning. If you want proof, you can go on YouTube, because I did video.
We all are. I'll look back in a year and be like, oh my goodness, was horrific.
It was awesome though, because I learned so much, and I really just flexed that muscle of like starting before you're ready, not being embarrassed to fail. After 20 years, I was like the master at my craft. So I wasn't in that space of like feeling new and feeling what people like to call imposter syndrome. I really had to go and remind myself, like, you're not an imposter, you're new. Of course, this feels weird. Of course, you're not very good at it yet. But the only way you know how to get better is to keep practicing and kind of study your tape, like I say. And it was through watching myself and through getting feedback and having podcast coaches and mentors like Chris and Lori, who gave me real-time feedback, that I was able to get better and get better guests on the show and ask better questions and become interesting and become very interested in the people I was having on my show. And so that changed everything for me. And of course, the next launch I had for my course sold out. I was getting people enrolled into my various programs that I had, and the podcast started to grow. So that's kind of in a nutshell how things opened up. And in that, I was able to do a lot more from home than I ever had before. And there's a lot more to it, but I ended up being able to sell the salon and kind of move into a space where I could work from home and be more available for my son and just have that ebb and flow because he does suffer with ADHD like his mother. And it was great to be able to be around more so that I could encourage and nurture kind of the energy he needed. And so that's been a game changer. But really, through the podcasting, I feel like I've found my voice. I've been able to connect with it, but then it's also helped me connect with other people on such a deeper level, a lot faster than any other platform I've ever, been a part of.
For sure. Well, I love all that. And really, don't we hear all the time we should have multiple income streams, right? And I love your course thing because I created a course years ago. I recorded it in my closet for good sound. And I think I sold like one or two. But now I'm like, that sucks. It now for me and my brand, it doesn't align. It was boring. Like, so it's almost like you got to recreate it, right? And just put like who you really are into it. But I love that. And okay, so I know Lori got me into personal development back in 2015. I still have the email where I signed up for her Bliss Habit. And it is like watching these people, I'm from a small town too, looking at people and seeing what's possible because maybe not everyone sees that when they're little, right? And I love that you put yourself in the room with them and saw these dreamers and other dreamers that are in the mastermind, right? So how does personal development and like your habits, and because I know you're very big on that, on your habits and things you fill your day with, how does that change your life?
Oh, they're everything. I mean, I talk about it day in and day out, even though it's not something I quote unquote sell. I don't have a program for habits. I don't have a book on habits. It is what is the catalyst to creating anything you want in your life. Because if we can do the hard things in the morning, if we can build that self-trust and that self-belief that we will do what we say we're going to do. I always talk about controlling what you can and leaving everything else for other people to worry about. So many of us want to control the narrative of all of the things, but we can't. Yeah. But we get so caught up in the worrying about the things that we can't control that we don't focus on the things we can, like the needle moving things that you do every day that are so small that nobody really cares if you do them, but if you do them. Yeah. Like for me, it's getting up every morning early enough to have my alone time and my focus time to think about, what the day is going to hold for me. So I have a short meditation practice. I either read or journal or both if I have time. Every single morning. It might be a sentence. It might be a page. If I'm not feeling inspired or motivated, I definitely take a minute and I always have a couple different books to pull from. So sometimes it takes me 2 sentences or sometimes it takes me a couple pages to get that inspiration or motivation to get out of my own head because we all go to sleep thinking about the things that we couldn't control during the day. And that's usually what holds us back from taking action the next day. And so, working out and fitness, again, that's how I connected with Lori back in the day, has been the catalyst to everything. And it's not, I did compete in bodybuilding in competitions like she did back in the day too, but it's not so much the aesthetic, though at one point it was about that. Yeah. It was about proving to myself I could do something I said I was going to do. And in that process of pushing yourself beyond the limits of something you've ever done before, you find that things get easier when you make yourself do hard stuff. And things that feel hard sometimes, they're just habits now. And we all know bad habits and good habits that we have. And so I think people mistake people that have good habits for not having any bad habits. But often if the good counteracts some of the bad that we do, like I still love to eat shit sometimes. I still love to drink alcohol at times.
Me too.
But I know how to get my body back into a healthier state. I know how to like kind of counteract those things. I know when I'm stressed out, how to regulate my nervous system. So I think the habits are the foundation to everything, and the success and the fulfillment you're going to feel when you check the boxes of doing the things, because so many people are doing the damn thing and they're still not happy. They're still not fulfilled. There's still something missing. And so I think when you truly drop into what lights you up and makes you happy, it's the little moments of me getting to spend time with my son, or me having a regulated nervous system so that when he has an off day, I'm not losing my shit on top of that. I'm able to control that narrative because I can control what comes out of my mouth. I can't control what he does at school during the day, but I, as a parent, can control my reaction to what he does.
Calling all badass moms and entrepreneurs ready to stop surviving and start thriving. Y'all, I am officially opening spots for one-on-one mentorship. This is designed exclusively for the women who know they're meant for more, but feel stuck in the chaos of balancing business, motherhood, and everything in between. I'm not just another coach. I'm a proven business owner who's built an award-winning company, written a best-selling book, launched a podcast, and built a platform, all while raising a family. If you're ready to get unstuck and take bold action, master time management and boundaries, build an unshakable CEO mindset, and prioritize your energy without guilt, then let's make your next level happen. Faster, smarter, and with zero apologies. This is not for the excuse makers. It's only for women ready to go all in on themselves. Remember, spots are limited, so if you are interested, head on over now to Instagram and send me a DM with the word mentorship. I cannot wait to talk to you, girl. I love that. Yeah, I love to eat I just love unhealthy foods. My son who's 8's like, Mom, why are all the foods that are unhealthy taste really good, but the healthy ones just like not as much? I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm glad you
because they're not filled with poison.
I know. And the other day I was literally sitting in my office just like mowing down some Sour Patch Kids, like a big old bag. And I was like, it was a lot. It was not a small bag. And I was like, for the love of God, I finally threw them away because I'm like, you're literally hopped up on all the sugar. You feel like crap. Yeah, but are we drinking a bottle of wine or having a glass? Like understanding how do I feel?
Yeah.
And then, make changes and yeah, you're going to pay for it if you guzzle down 2 bottles of wine. Like it is what it is.
There's a misconception of like the all or nothing rule. And I think that's the part that people give up on is because they don't see results from doing something half-assed. So they don't bother to do it, or they go all out for like a day or two and don't see any results. So it's such a bummer because that's happened to so many people I've helped start their podcast where they are excited and motivated in the beginning to start the podcast, and they get 20, 30, 40 episodes out, and then they don't see what they think is going to be the ROI. And so they quit or they give up because they have some arbitrary numbers on return on investment, whether it's clients coming through or downloads that they think, or some kind of vanity metrics. Again, the things you cannot control.
Yep.
The reason we should do something is because we truly want to connect with either one person, or we want to add value to one person's life. And that's why a podcast for me solves all of those things. It becomes a lead magnet. It's my way to give free value to anybody who wants to come into my world. It builds trust and rapport. Having client or guests on your show gives you that relationship capital that you cannot get anywhere else. Spending 30 to 40 minutes with a guest on your show really builds trust between the two of you. You're then giving them a platform. It gives you an opportunity to maybe get asked back on their show, like how I'm getting to be a guest on your show. There's so many ways that a podcast can literally change your life like that. And so while things cost money, you have to understand like what is the bigger picture and what is the ROI of why you're doing something. And so that's where like the life and business coaching part of my business comes in, along with encouraging people to have a podcast if speaking and talking to people is something that they're passionate about.
Yep. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you're not like thinking you're going to start a podcast and be 5 episodes in and you're a millionaire. Like, I'm sorry. No, honey. No, that's not even close to how it's going to happen. But I think there's a new study. It's like most people that start a podcast are 25 or less episodes. I think it's like 20. They don't even make it
past 20. They don't make it past 20.
You have to be in it for the long game. And it's just like a book. It's a piece of the puzzle. If you're a speaker, if you're this, that, it's all a piece of the puzzle. Yeah. And are you offering value? Are you connecting with who you should be connecting with? Right. Or does it totally suck? And then you need to figure out like, what are you trying to say? What's your goal? Right.
So many of us start businesses and think we're going to knock it out of the park the first time, and I say that, and I'm sure anyone listening rolls their eyes and like, no, I didn't. I didn't think I was going to knock it out of the park the first time. But yeah, we all kind of have like this confidence where we just think things are going to work out, especially if we have proof in the past that we were really good at something. I think it's especially hard for the people who have been really successful in other areas to move into a new space like maybe podcasting and not knock it out of the park. It's very discouraging because they're like, what did I do wrong? This isn't maybe the thing I should be doing. But I will challenge anybody with that content is king right now. It always has been. Quality is top. We want quality content, but we also need quantity. And if you're not putting out good content and you're not willing to take the podcast part of your business seriously, it is really tough to see any momentum from it. And if you start a podcast just to make money, you're definitely doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
It is an avenue to bring in income. And I think that's one of the most frequently asked questions I get when I help people with podcasting is how can I monetize this, or how quickly can I monetize the podcast? And my first question back to them is always like, do you have something to sell currently that you could promote on your show? Because I do believe in the beginning on promoting your own products and services.
For sure.
But if you're someone who naturally already loves, your favorite facial cream, or like our friend Lori has a product called Glossy that we love to take. If talking about other people's products gets you authentically excited, then you can have them as an ad sponsor on your podcast. Now, maybe you're thinking, well, I don't even have any episodes out. How is anyone going to give me money for an ad? This is where you start to, the reciprocity piece comes in. I will run ads for brands that I want to eventually pay me for that ad space. I will give it to them for free. I will go ask for an affiliate code first, right? So I can just give my listeners 10, maybe 20% off. So nothing's coming into my pocket on either end, but I'm just gifting my listeners brand recognition for them and a discount code. Then I can start to tell and share, here's the ad I put on for my podcast over the last 30 episodes. Have you gotten any clicks from my affiliate link? Hopefully they're honest. They share with you, yes, no. Maybe then they start giving you 20% of all those sales. Then potentially they can turn into a brand sponsor where they're like, wow, you're driving so much traffic. We want to offer you a residual monthly of $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 a month. And we want to be the only ad on your podcast. So there's a lot of ways you can do that if you want to work with brands. But I always tell people to start selling their own stuff first, or at least use the podcast as a lead magnet to drive traffic into your email list or a text community if you have one, because you want to retain that. You want some call to action on every episode.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great idea. Okay, so I want to dive more into being a mom, being an entrepreneur, right? It's hard and every day is different. And I got to say, we're all doing the best we can. So we always have to give ourselves grace. But I know we bonded over, chatting over dinner that night. My son has dyslexia, yours ADHD, but how did you realize that you had to be an advocate for him?
Well, unfortunately, if you guys know, if you come listen to my podcast, you'll realize quickly I'm a very oversharing type of person. His dad struggled with ADHD his whole childhood and had a very negative perception of taking any medication. And so early on, we realized Kai had it as well. I mean, from the early ages of preschool through kindergarten, anytime, sit in the seat, do this, stay, all of it just showed all the signs of it. And it wasn't until fourth grade that one of his teachers, who was the most loving teacher he ever had, sat me down and was like, I love Kai to death. We really need you to get him officially diagnosed so that then we can do something official about it. We can't give him any special treatment. And I come from the school of hard knocks where I'm like, no kid should get special treatment, put him in the corner. But that was because my mom was such a hard ass. And, back then we didn't talk about any of this stuff.
No,
you just
not at all.
You didn't address it. But, and then knowing that my son's dad really struggled with the medication piece and attributes all of these adult issues like anxiety and depression to taking medication that didn't, he wasn't medicated right. I was really apprehensive to do anything, but we did follow protocol. We got him officially diagnosed in fourth grade. He's now in seventh grade. And it took us until sixth grade to get an IEP from his school.
Okay.
So through that process, we learned a lot. We learned that this isn't a disability. I learned truly by all of the testing we had put him through that I truly had it as well.
I think I do too.
But I think knowing that you do and that there are ways to combat it and control it, right? Again, back to what can we control? I know that food directly affects my state. I know that if too much sugar, too much caffeine, not enough sleep, not hydrated enough makes me even more agitated and less able to sit still and focus.
Yeah.
And so we really focus on food with him. We focus on educating him. He will sit down and mow down some candy just like his dad. And so teaching my son the importance of food gives him the responsibility now to decide how do you want your day to be?
Feel. Yeah.
How do you want to feel? And so for instance, in sixth grade, they get free lunch at his school now. His other school didn't have that. So at any point he can go grab a 25-gram filled chocolate milk at lunch. Who do you think I'm getting emails from during the last period from all of his teachers? He can't sit still. He won't stop talking.
Yeah.
I'm the kid just got hopped up on drugs at lunch that you guys gave him.
Yeah.
They're rewarding him with candy in class. I'm like, what the actual F?
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are doing this to yourself. Don't send me an email. Y'all have fun with that freaking hyena mess. But the thing is I was getting a different version of him than they were. He's in a classroom, very distracted with 25 plus people. I get him at home where it's one-on-one, and he does a lot better in smaller environments. And so knowing that, I take all those emails with a grain of salt. I try to educate the teachers on who Kai is. And ultimately, the teachers always say the same thing. Kai's such a good kid. He understands right from wrong. He's kind until he, and so as a mom, that's good enough for me to hear that my son at least knows right from wrong.
Yes.
I always apologize and say, please let us know how we can support you. But it's helped me take the stigma off of it for myself and to help him feel less like a bad kid.
Yes.
And educate him even like on who he is as a person without him feeling like he's labeled as this kid who's just bad and obnoxious.
I love that. It is hard. And I think when teachers, I hope most teachers have good intentions, but dealing with these kids, sometimes it does kind of trickle down and tell the kid, you're a bad kid, or you're getting sent out of the classroom or whatever. So yeah, that's really hard. And we as parents then have to rebuild that confidence. You're not a bad kid. Maybe you made a not great decision, right? And I love that you brought up the school lunch and things like that, because at all these schools, they can spend extra money to buy like cookies and all these like Cheetos and random crap. Why? And even looking at the school lunch menu, like, I'll just be honest, I don't have time to pack a lunch. Like, it's not going to happen because I can't send a sandwich every day that they're not going to eat. But looking at that, it's a bunch of shit. It's like French toast sticks and blah, blah, blah.
Chicken nuggets, fried chicken nuggets. Yeah.
There's no nutritional value. And they offer fruit and vegetables, but like, let's be honest, are the kids going to just load up on the fruits and veggies? No, they're not. They're eating the French toast sticks, right?
Well, that's where I've had to get really granular on what it is I'm willing to do. And again, I'm back to the control, the things you can't control. I can control the fact that I can make myself go to the store and pack my kid a lunch. Not everybody will do that or can do that. I understand. I have one kid and
ideas.
I have him half the time, right? So his dad has him. We split time. Yeah. We're not together. And so I've made it my mission and goal. My mom was so strict with food when I was a kid that it caused the exact opposite thing to happen for me. As I got older, I would binge eat a bunch of crap. I drank soda. Like I started smoking cigarettes just because it was the opposite of what she was trying her hardest, but she wasn't educating me on why.
Yeah. That makes
Luckily,
sense.
I had that education. It was coming in what my subconscious knew. My grandmother was very healthy. So, I think, again, like we started this whole conversation of like, there's a time and place to do a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, as long as we know how to control some of that for our body. And there'll be times where I know he's eating junk and I'm like, at least you had your healthy lunch today, or please don't get a chocolate milk today. At least wait till after school for the treat or whatever. And so he's getting more conscious and I'm getting less emails. So
that's good.
He must be stepping in there. But it's more expensive to grab the celery than it is to grab the frozen French fries. And it'll go bad if we don't eat it. But I do try to make it a habit to have something healthy in his lunch every single day, along with a healthier option. Like he only likes turkey and cheese sandwiches. So getting the organic turkey. I try to do the little things that I can do. And again, I know not everybody has time to do all of that, but there are certain things where that's a non-negotiable for me because I know he's going to eat shit the rest of the day. Yeah. So he gets a protein-packed breakfast. He gets a protein-filled lunch. And he knows what protein, carbs, and fats are and what they are used for in his body. I mean, he's an athlete too. He plays baseball. And I'm like, listen, as you guys are pounding shit in the on the baseball field eating crap, I'm like, you should be having protein snacks so that you have energy.
Yeah,
so
he gets
that.
Yeah.
But he still wants the Gatorade and the candy. So it's like, as long as we're educating with that positive mindset of it's not going to make you fat. I don't talk about the food making him fat. I don't talk about body image. I talk about how do you feel? How do you feel?
Oh, I love that. Like my kids beg me for seaweed. They just mow it down and other kids at school are like, that's weird. And I'm like, I don't give a crap. You like it, whatever. Yeah. And overall we eat pretty healthy, but I would love later we can chat. Give me some of your tips for lunches because, you can't have peanuts. They don't have access to a microwave. It's like, oh my God, I don't even know what to freaking make. And I'm not like sitting there like doing cookie cutters of stars and shit. I'm sorry. Like ain't gonna freaking happen.
We keep it simple. Luckily, my kid's pretty simple. He likes simple food. And so he has the same thing for lunch every single day. And that's what some of the greats do. They take out the decision fatigue of like, what am I going to eat? And so many people, even in the fitness world, are like, how do you eat the same thing every day? I'm like, you eat the same crap every day. What's the fucking difference? Like,
exactly.
You don't get sick of the Doritos and the sugar laden coffee that you get from Starbucks. You know what I mean? So it's like we can get used to whatever
Yes.
We train ourselves to get used to. They're just excuses that we're using so that we don't have to own up to it. But back to that self-trust and that self-belief, you know how you feel when you eat that shit. It's why people even side tangent. I just am doing so much research because some of my clients are on these different weight loss drugs.
Yeah.
The ones that are having the worst side effects are the ones who are not changing their eating habits. The ones that are having the great results that don't have any sort of side effects are the ones who are eating healthy. They're taking this as a way to retrain themselves to eat healthy and do it the right way. You know, protein forward meals have always been the way to lose weight. Working out, calories in versus calories out, like that's always been the thing. But sometimes we want to recreate the wheel and think, oh, we don't have to do it the same way. But just like you said, 5 cookies isn't going to make you fat, and 5 trips to the gym isn't going to give you abs. So we have to continuously do the things. Like 20 podcast episodes isn't going to put you on the map. You got to put the reps in,
no matter what you're doing. And if you, whatever you're doing, like sitting on the couch, guzzling beer and eating a double cheeseburger for dinner every night is not going to do shit for you. Like, and no matter what drug you're trying to take to lose weight. Right. So it's use that as like a catalyst to change your habits, be a healthier person, hopefully. Right.
Just educate yourself on, and work backwards. Like, what is the end goal that you want, and how can you reverse engineer your life to create an environment that makes it easier for you to show up each and every day to do those things to get you to the goal?
Yes. And what habits are you're self-sabotaging? What are good? How does it make me feel? Okay, this makes me feel like shit. Get rid of it. Like, right? Okay, girl. As we wrap up, I would love to hear, because I know we all have this and I just want to get them out there. I want to hear a great mom fail story. Like, I guarantee there was a time, like last week, I chatted with a friend that she literally left her son twice at 2 different times. So, I mean, my son likes to try to start the house on fire,
oh my gosh.
Just different things. So
mom fails. Oh my gosh. You know what? Seriously, nothing comes to mind. Wow. You should have prepped me with that question.
Sorry to put you on the spot. No, I know.
I guess
I just have so many.
I think just like anything else in my life, I try not to be too hard on myself, so nothing's coming to mind, which is probably a good thing, because that mom guilt is real, and I like to block shit out. So I probably blocked it out to the point where I don't remember it. But there are so many things that over the years, I wish I would have advocated more for him. I wish I would have stood up for him or done certain things. He allowing him to quit certain sports, I feel like that's been a mom fail for me, to not push him a little bit harder. But then there's always that ebb and flow of like letting kids kind of make their own decisions these days.
It's hard, isn't it? Yeah,
it is hard. And I think, back to the education piece, I just educate him on what, getting through something looks like. But I think the biggest failure is not advocating for him enough when he was younger with the ADHD, and letting the teachers who I thought were the experts make the decisions, when intuitively as moms, we all know what we need, what our kids need. And I think more moms need to lean into that, because we do know, even if it's your first time, right? Having the first kid, it's like, intuitively how you would have wanted that situation handled as when you were a kid, and vice versa. So that's probably the biggest thing I can leave you guys with.
Yeah, I love that. It's now, in the hindsight, looking back on like my son's kindergarten year, it was just like, I should have fought harder, but I just thought I didn't understand what was happening. Right. Yeah. And now looking back, I'm like, oh, hell no. I would have approached that so differently, but I didn't understand at the time. Now looking back, oh, hell yeah, I could see that. Right. So no. And I just like to ask that question, because I love laughing at ourselves. Like, I do a bunch of stupid shit. I mess up all the time, and we're all trying our best, but like, you have to laugh about some stuff. You have to, forget, like, block some stuff out. You know what I mean? And know you're doing your best. So
absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, being vulnerable. And I just really, really appreciate you. Can you tell our listeners where to find out more about you, and then how we can best support you, and all about your podcast, where to find that?
Totally. The podcast is called Unscripted. There's 900 other podcasts called Unscripted. So just type in my name, Jessica Burgio. I love chatting with people on Instagram. If you want to leave me a voice note, it's at Jessica Burgio. And, literally helping early stage entrepreneurs build foundations that they can then build upon is my jam. So my go-to is just helping you become more visible. Obviously, she shared that with my bio, but it's truly something that lights me up that I love helping people do. So if you have questions about podcasting, or if you were moved to potentially start a podcast or rebrand your podcast, I have a podcast workshop that I host every couple of months. So just hit me up if you want more information on that. But yeah, I'm on Instagram, so come hang out and say hi.
Awesome. Yes, please go if you are thinking about it, or maybe you just started your podcast and you're like, you kind of need to dial it in a little more or whatever. Just please go check her out, give her a follow, listen to her podcast. It's incredible. Thank you so, so much. I so appreciate you.
Thanks, girl.
All right, everybody, that was another Lip Service and Lashes podcast. Always remember, no BS, just real vibes. If you loved the episode, share it on Instagram and tag me so I can say thank you and meet you, or share it with a girlfriend who you know would love this too. Always remember, no BS, just real vibes. See you next time on Lip Service and Lashes.